the job with Chip Kelly. And they know Justin Herbert's in the division, Bo Nix and Sean Payton, Mahomes and Andy Reid. So the Raiders know we got to get the quarterback right. So they went. I think Geno Smith and Pete Carroll are a weird pairing. Pete hates interceptions. And Geno is careless. He always has been. If you speed him up, last night, 3 picks. So they wanted Matt Stafford. They offered him $100 million. Stafford said, no, I'm going to stay with the Rams for less. And then I think they kind of wanted Sam Darnold, but Tom Brady, part owner of the Raiders, said no on Sam Darnold. So I think it was a marriage of convenience. Chip Kelly was very familiar with Geno Smith. Pete Carroll was familiar with Geno Smith, but I don't think he was their first or second choice. So, Tom Brady's like, reportedly, it was out there, no to Darnold, and Matt Stafford considered it probably for about a day, and he said no. So Geno, since 2022, leads the NFL in interceptions. And Darnold's younger. He's more athletic. He's closer to his prime. And I think Sam Darnold was coming off an amazing year between Shanahan's mentoring and Kevin O'Connell's coaching. Darnold was going to come to Vegas with a lot of confidence. But when I watched it last night, already this year, Geno's doesn't have really a number one receiver. Jacoby Myers is a 2. Brock Bowers a great tight end. They should probably give the ball more to Ashton Genty. They really should. But in the end, he's already 3rd in the NFL right now in aggressive throws. So that's Geno. If you speed Geno up, he makes some bad decisions. And in New York, he was a disaster. In Seattle, it was reclamation and a great story. But a great story doesn't mean a great quarterback. So I think Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are a little trapped here. They wanted Stafford. I think privately they'd never admit it. They probably thought Darnold, younger in his prime with some career momentum. But, this is what they've got. The 4th best quarterback in the division. Again, Chip Kelly knew him from Ohio State. Apparently they had a relationship. He recruited him. Pete Carroll had him in Seattle. They like him. He's a likable guy. But last night, you're watching that game, and my takeaway is you're a 4th place team in that division with that offense currently. And here's Pete on Geno's struggles.
He had a lot of time back there. He had a chance to look and see, didn't like what he saw underneath, and gave those guys some shots down the field, which he's tremendous at doing. We were impatient with the throwing game, and that's why the ball went down the field so far, and I don't think we needed to do that. It's disappointing. I know that the picks are a big issue, but that's not my concern. My concern is why we didn't get the ball thrown and caught underneath.
Exactly. Man, Pete just took what I was going to say. So, come on, man. Don't be taking my takes, Pete. Listen, I don't think that this is necessarily all on Geno, because I think that's where Chip Kelly and Geno Smith need to get more on the same page, because they were way too aggressive. I'm taking my notes for this, and I just keep kind of saying why are we being so aggressive? Why are you being so aggressive? Why are you being so aggressive? And it, then they couldn't get Genty going, and Genty looked more comfortable in this game, but. You're just not going to be able to reliably truck over guys in the NFL. It's just not how it works in the NFL. It's just not. But I did actually like him in this game. I think he felt a lot more settled, but they still only 19 carries for 68 yards, 3.6 yards per carry. So it's not awful, but also not a big intention to run the ball, having Geno Smith throw 43 times. And it's not because they were down by huge and they need the game was. I made a Chargers video, and I was just the game was in the balance here for a moment. It was just the Raiders just needed to score, and you were just gonna be all right, this is a game now, because the Raiders gave up some big plays, right? Some big plays against the Chargers, but the Chargers still also weirdly struggled at times as well. They couldn't convert 3rd downs, and Justin Herbert almost threw an interception, and it was just, if one bounce goes your way, the score does look a lot differently. They were 9 for 18 on 3rd downs, 0 for 2 on 4th, and some of those 4th downs were quite ugly. Let's be serious here. But the one interception, Dan Orlovsky, which I don't even know if I 100% agree with him just because of the timing of it, but Orlovsky kind of talked about how that one interception was still a good decision, that you're kind of just, throwing that ball out there, that it's kind of no harm, no foul. That's just going to be depending on what your philosophy is in that moment, so we can give that interception whatever. And then the other interception in the end zone, again, I think the broadcast team did a great job of highlighting of just like Geno had the guy, and it was going to be an unbelievably beautiful throw, right? Just like right down the seam, just threading that needle. But then the defensive player just made an unbelievable play and intercepted the ball. But that is the problem. That is the risk with being that aggressive. And when I see someone like Geno Smith making more aggressive throws than Patrick Mahomes, then I'm like, what are we doing here? Why should Geno Smith be making more aggressive tight window throws than Patrick Mahomes is making right now? You're just like, it doesn't really make sense. But again, it's weird to me that we're all going to put this on the shoulders of Geno Smith when you're like, well, the Raiders don't really have a wide receiver one, and they didn't really get the run game go, and it's just like, so then how are you going to put that all on Geno? But Geno, make no mistake, Geno does need to be better, and he needs to make better decisions. To me, this was really a team effort. I know most of it is going to go on Geno Smith, and it's, he's the quarterback, that's how it works, and I get that, and there were some moments that Geno just looked too frazzled and too sped up, and you're just kind of like, what are we doing here? And I didn't see Geno check down enough, but then like I didn't see the intention enough of just saying, you know what, I'm calling up some schemed plays to just get Geno nice, quick, easy 5-yard passes, a 1-yard screen pass, like just to kind of settle everything. And the reality is that they wanted to settle this game by getting the run game going, and they couldn't quite do it in a way that ever felt like, all right, we've been able to run a lot this drive and really get some good momentum, and like now let's just little by little get the job done. And they couldn't. They had that one extended drive. It was like, what was it, like 11 minutes, 16 plays, or I forget exactly what it was. I meant to write it down, but I didn't. And they couldn't bring it home. And so it's just, it's week 2 for this team. You're going up against a Chargers defense that, again, Colin praised as being one of the best defenses in the NFL. So this was a tougher game, and Brock Bowers is clearly not healthy either. He's got the gigantic knee brace on, so he's clearly not 100% either. If you're struggling to run the ball, you believe that you don't have a wide receiver one, your main weapon, your tight end, is not fully healthy right now. Again, reportedly, who am I to know exactly how healthy or not healthy he is? But they didn't really make a big effort to really target him either, so that makes me believe that like maybe he is more banged up than people realize, that he's kind of more of just a decoy, so to speak. And it puts you in a tough spot. But your defense held the Chargers to only 20 points. And it's not because the Chargers were like, oh, okay, we're winning, we're good, we're just going to be conservative now. Like, no, they were still going for broke at times, and they kept them to 20. So if you could just be more comfortable playing what I always call small ball, which is not really how they talk about it in the NFL, but that's how I always call it. And just taking the layups, taking the short gains, checking down, essentially what your coach is saying, Pete Carroll is saying, just take some of the stuff underneath. Like, this is a game that you chip away and you force a turnover by the Chargers, and you could be in a position to kick a field goal to tie the game up or take the lead and win the game, right? Like you can put yourself in that position. These divisional games always had ugly wins written all over them. And so far that's kind of been what it's been. But you got to execute better. In order to win ugly, you got to execute better. And that does start with Geno. But I would like to see Chip Kelly and Geno just seemingly get on the same page more. And so Pete Carroll clearly has identified the problem to himself and vocally. So I'm curious to see how this moves forward now, going forward. Because I remember looking at my notes, I don't have them now, but for Geno's first game with the Raiders, I was like, my goodness, this guy is throwing the ball all over the place. It's just tight window throw, tight window throw, tight window throw. Like, the aggression is through the roof. And we know that he's aggressive, but it's up to Chip Kelly now to be like, I'm going to call plays and run an offense that dials this back. I'm not going to give you the opportunities to keep just ramping up the volume as loud as it can go. I think this needs to be more intentional for the coaching staff now to recognize this is kind of how we need to do this, right? Some RPOs, some screen passes, some quick out routes, like just trying to keep things nice and steady, running the ball a lot more, even if you're not getting a ton of yards per carry, even if it's a slower, sluggish, more physical run game. Still try to, see what happens if there's ways for you to wear down this defense with the Genti and finally get, a big 30, 40-yard run like we see with the Derrick Henrys of the world. Like sometimes even if the run game isn't as potent as you want it to be, you still rely on it. You still go back onto it. Even if it is just 3 yards, 2nd and 7 is honestly a light years different than 1st and 10. All right. I mean, it just really is. And 3rd and 3 is certainly just light years different than 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. You had a ton of 3rd and longs. So you're just making things harder for yourselves. And so I just think with better execution, these games could look a bit different personally. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Geno Smith and the Las Vegas Raiders? Do you think Geno Smith is the problem here? What's your conclusion on this game? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.